And hello everyone, and this time we have Counter-Strike 2, the limited test edition, or beta. Now the first scenario is completely maxed out at 4K resolution with 4x MSA. Now for this one I decided to compare with Counter-Strike Global Offensive, because it's interesting how different games react to the hardware, and I selected the same settings in the same scenario in both games. So it's deathmatch, offline server with bots at medium difficulty. And I have to say that CS2 is so much more GPU demanding. So in most scenarios you will be GPU limited, especially at these settings. Also keep in mind that in deathmatch there's some strange GPU utilization. So what I mean by that is, if I have about 80% of GPU utilization, I am fully GPU limited. So it's basically 80% GPU utilization means fully utilized GPU. You will see when I will reduce the settings, I will get better FPS. And if you have noticed, and this is the cracked version of Counter-Strike 2, because it's literally impossible to get otherwise, unless you are invited, so I wasn't, so here we are. Now I tested 3 different scenarios on 3 different settings and resolutions, so if you're interested, just check out timestamps down below. And by comparing the statistics from CS2 and csgo, you can see that the CS2 uses so much more VRAM. And main system memory is about the same, maybe a bit higher in CS2. Also, if you haven't noticed yet, CS2 is currently running on DirectX 11, while it previously ran on DirectX 9. So maybe in the future, in the full version, we might see Vulkan adaptation as well, but yeah, we'll see about that. Also, that thing about the GPU utilization that I mentioned before, you can see that in CSGO it's about the same. So also I was GPU limited, but the GPU utilization was around 80 or 90%, not full 100% or 99% like in most games. So something in the game code just carried on, which makes the GPU utilization not full 95 or more. So yeah, overall the CS2 is so much more GPU dependent, and basically in CSGO I get about twice as many FPS as in CS2.
Nice shot. You killed one. Nice shot, nice shot. Good shot.
Now these are my personal settings, which I usually play with, and for the longest time I usually played on 1080p, but sometime maybe a year ago I decided to try 4K again, since I have 3090, and I have to say that visibility is so much better than in 1080p, and I still get way enough FPS. So I stuck with 4K, and 4K resolution, low settings for the most part, except high textures and models. Mostly again just because I can, and because I want to see a little bit better detail on my gun skins. And instantly you can see that FPS in CS2 is so much higher, and it's actually pretty playable, especially with Nvidia Reflex new feature in CS2, which reduces input latency when you are GPU limited. So with these settings, this is completely playable. Also keep in mind that this scenario with bots and deathmatch is one of the most demanding scenes out there. So in 5 versus 5, it should be way higher FPS. Now what I want you to look at is the CPU utilization. Just take a look. Other SSD with other CPU cores, other 16, also utilized, but in previous, in csgo, it wasn't the case, so I find it kinda interesting. Overall, the game can utilize up to around 8 CPU threads, but I find it interesting that the game actually do something with other cores, but it's clearly not going to be utilized fully, as you will see later in even lower resolution and low settings.
You kill him. Nice shooting. Nice shot. You got him. There. Very good. You killed one.
And for the last part, I decided to choose super competitive settings, if you can call that, or pro settings, and that is at 960p at everything at low settings. So I personally wouldn't play at those settings because these days it's just not necessary. 1080p is more than enough, and current hardware is more than enough to run at that resolution. But I'm not judging. If you're comfortable with those settings, it's good. And it also helps me to completely eliminate GPU bottleneck and show my CPU true performance in CS2. So overall, CS2 is very smooth. It's actually a little bit smoother than in CSGO. Sometimes I get few stutters here and there in CSGO, but not in CS2. So that's what I find interesting. We'll see once it fully releases for the public. Maybe it will get few more updates. So yeah, we'll see about that. But for now, it's actually very smooth. And overall, FPS is a bit lower. As you will see at the end of this section, you will see that I have tracking average 1% and 0.1% lows. Also keep in mind that 0.1% lows might be affected when you are dying, so all the UI pop-up and other things might skew the results. So this is not like analytical benchmark map, it's not completely one-to-one, but it's quite comparable, I would say. So I will revisit this benchmark once the CS2 is fully released to the public, and until then I think I will stick only with this benchmark. I'm not going to do more tests on CS2 because it's going to change dramatically in short amount of time, so yeah, there is really not much of use of constantly testing beta version of the game, which is not even released yet. So anyways, thank you very much as always for watching, and see you next time.